Hello and welcome to Liberty Nation's LNTV. I'm your host, Mark Angelides. Now, with Amy Coney Barrett becoming Justice Barrett, the Supreme Court may be in for a shake-up, and to join us in this discussion is Liberty Nation's Legal Affairs Editor, Mr. Scott D. Cosenza. Welcome, Scott.
Hello, Mark.
So, Scott, she's now on the bench. What's a case that you're particularly looking at right now?
Well, if we weren't involved in these emergency orders regarding voting matters, the first merits case that I think interests me the most is a case called Lang v. California. And that case involves whether or not police officers need a warrant to go into somebody's house if they're pursuing them based on the commission of a misdemeanor. And I think it's a fascinating legal case as to whether the exception to the warrant requirement applies to misdemeanors, especially in a country where, when we were founded, there were a few misdemeanors, and now the number of violations that can consist of misdemeanors is so long and broad that I think it's an interesting question. And I think it's particularly interesting to see how Justice Barrett will rule on this case, Mark, because my expectations with respect to Justice Barrett are none. I need to wait and see, and court watchers will need to wait and see with a case like this. Is she more about the rights of individuals or state or the rights of the government?
Okay, Scott. Now, on your weekly podcast, The Uprising, which our viewers can find on libertynation.com and other good podcast providers, you discussed the now makeup of the court being having 6 ostensibly conservative justices. How do you think this will shape American law? Would it be something that conservatives or libertarians across the nation are looking forward to, or will it be the nightmare that those on the political left believe it will be?
Yeah, I expect it will be a mixed bag, Mark. I think that anybody who thinks they're going to get exactly what they want probably is not going to.
I'm aware that you're a bit of a fan of Justice Gorsuch and his jurisprudence. Do you think she'll be more of a steady hand like Justice Gorsuch, or will she be more of an out there justice?
I would say I'm hopeful that she will be a justice who elevates the rights of the individual above others. And that's why I do favor Justice Gorsuch's jurisprudence. I'm hopeful that Justice Barrett will be a similar justice because of her treatment of the one gun control case, where we kind of can get some information about her jurisprudence. And instead of just saying that because a federal law allowed somebody to have their gun rights stripped away if they were a felon, she kind of peeled the onion back one layer deeper and said, is that restriction itself, which most even gun rights proponents would say is a reasonable restriction, okay? And she said it wasn't because of the fundamental nature of the right to keep and bear arms and the nature of the crime that person was convicted of, which was not a crime of violence. It was
mail fraud, I believe, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, that actually came up in the hearings. Unsurprisingly, that came up in the hearings. Now, Scott, I can't let you get away without discussing the reactions of Democrats to her confirmation. Obviously, the squad en masse tweeted out, "Expand the court," in response to this. And former Vice President Joe Biden took a rather different approach. Your thoughts?
It's sort of like the Democrats in terms of Harry Reid and the Senate Democrats, they kind of knocked down all of the procedural objections that were in place that gave power to minorities in that body, that gave them more of a say over who could be nominated, in order to steamroll over Republican objections to Democrat nominees when Barack Obama was president. And now they don't like being subject to those same rules, and so they want to add justices to the court because Hillary Clinton didn't get to appoint 3 justices, Donald Trump did. But why doesn't anybody talk about, of course, Republicans will then add justices to the court, and then where does that leave us? And I just think it's incumbent upon those Democrats who do say they want to add justices to the court to be forced to answer that question about what comes next and why they won't bear any responsibility for it, or if they're willing to, then let them say it, I think is what's appropriate.
Scott, I think to sum this episode of LNTV up, be careful what you wish for. Seems appropriate. Scott, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you, Mark.
And thanks to you at home.
go deeper on the topic discussed in this video, head on over to one of these links here or go to our Liberty Nation Roku channel. Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell for Liberty.